The rain never stopped on orbital dock A-12. It dripped from the cracked ceilings, mixed with the smell of oil and rust, and carried the sound of laughter from a group of well-dressed cadets. They stood under a flickering hollow sign, mocking someone hidden in the shadows. Their laughter was sharp, cruel, and careless. Rook sat at his workbench nearby, pretending not to hear. But he did. Every word. Every cruel chuckle. His hands were rough and stained with grease, and the noise clawed at him in a way broken machinery never could. He finally looked up. The target of their jokes was a girl sitting near a steaming exhaust vent. She was thin, wrapped in what once might have been fine fabric, now torn and darkened with grime. Even through the dirt, her face had an unnatural sharpness, too perfect for this place. Her hair clung to her cheeks, and her eyes, bright violet even in the dim light, stared at the floor. Rook recognized that look, one he'd seen in the mirror years ago. The empty stare of someone who had lost everything and didn't yet understand why the world had turned so cruel. She wasn't a beggar by trade. No tricks, no fake sobs, no outstretched hands. Just silence. He sighed, closing the tool case. His back ached as he stood. The cadets fell silent the moment he approached. Their shiny boots shuffled, their laughter died. Humans had a reputation on this station, dirty, stubborn, unpredictable. Rook didn't say a word. He just looked at them. It was enough. They scattered like spooked birds. The girl didn't move. She seemed to shrink deeper into the shadows, as if afraid that kindness might cost her something. Rook tore his cheap sandwich in half. The bread was stale, the filling was synthetic, but it was food. He crouched and held it out. "Here," he muttered. She looked up. Her violet eyes were fierce, full of anger and shame. Hunger made her hands tremble, but her pride held her still. For a moment, he thought she would spit at him. Instead, she snatched the sandwich and turned away, eating fast, as if afraid someone might take it back. Rook watched in silence. No thank you. No words at all. That was fine. He wasn't doing it for gratitude. He turned his collar up against the mist and walked away, the drizzle painting dark streaks across his jacket. The logo on the back, Rook's Ship Works, had once been white. Now it was faded, a ghost of its former color. Behind him, the girl looked up, chewing slowly now. Her eyes followed the fading shape of the human who had offered her food when everyone else offered only laughter. Her gaze lingered on the gear and wrench symbol printed across his back. She memorized it, burning it into her mind like a star map. He didn't look back. For him, it was just another moment in a long day, another problem fixed, another life to ignore. He had a broken engine waiting and a landlord shaped like a blob of sentient jelly demanding rent. But for her, something had changed. The station lights flickered overhead, throwing long shadows across the narrow walkway. Steam hissed from vents. Somewhere far away, a ship launched, shaking the metal floor under her feet. She clutched what was left of the sandwich, her pride fighting against her hunger, her eyes burning with something new, hope mixed with shame. Rook vanished into the maze of walkways, his figure swallowed by the glow of neon haze. The girl sat alone again, the laughter gone, replaced by silence and the faint hum of machines. No one noticed her whisper to herself, voice trembling but certain. "Rook's Ship Works," she said softly. "I'll remember." And she would, because in the cold metal heart of the station, where kindness was rarer than clean air, one act could echo for a lifetime. That night, the rain kept falling. The vent hissed. The cadets didn't return. And the girl with violet eyes made a silent promise. If she ever found that human again, she wouldn't be the one hiding in the shadows. Rook was elbow-deep inside a broken freighter panel when the piece shattered. The old ship groaned like a dying beast while he cursed it in 3 languages, 2 of them human. His workshop smelled of ozone, burnt wire, and the stale tang of coffee gone cold hours ago. Life on Dock A-12 wasn't glamorous, but at least it was quiet. Usually, a sudden metallic scream tore through that quiet. The heavy blast door shook once, then again, then folded inward like paper under a hammer. Sparks sprayed across the floor, lighting the walls in orange firelight. Rook stumbled back, shielding his face. Through the smoke stepped a figure, thin, trembling, eyes blazing violet even through exhaustion. It was her, the same alien girl from the alley. Only now she looked worse. Clothes torn, skin pale, one arm clutching her ribs, dark violet blood seeping through her fingers. "Help me," she gasped. "Please." For a heartbeat, Rook froze. His brain screamed trouble. The kind that brought armed syndicate enforcers with guns that didn't miss. He should have thrown her out. Pretended not to know her. Pretended this was someone else's problem. Then the sound came. The rhythmic thud of armored boots echoing down the corridor. They were close. Too close. The girl slammed a sleek silver data drive onto his workbench. "Seal the door." Something in her voice, raw command buried under panic, made him move. He hit the red override. With a mechanical roar, a secondary Durasteel door dropped from the ceiling, locking into place. The next impact made the whole shop tremble. "Who the hell are you?" Rook demanded. She sank against the bench, panting. "A mistake," she muttered, running out of time. Her hand slipped away from her side, and Rook saw the wound properly. A deep, charred gash where plasma had kissed flesh. He swore softly. That wasn't a cut. That was death waiting to happen. He grabbed the only medical tool he owned, a micro-welder he used for sealing engine cracks. It hummed to life, the tip glowing orange. "This'll hurt," he said flatly. She looked at him, defiant even now. "Do it." The smell hit first, burnt plast and flesh. She hissed through clenched teeth, gripping his shoulder so hard her nails tore the fabric of his jacket. No scream, just pure willpower. When he finished, she slumped, breathing in ragged bursts. "Dock 7G, she forced out. "Get me there." He frowned. "That's halfway across the station." 5 million credits, she said, dragging a metal chit from her tunic. It glimmered faintly under the workshop lights. "Yours." He stared at it. 5 million. That was get off this rock and never come back money. But it was also bounty hunter magnet money. Another thud shook the door. The metal dented inward. Rook exhaled sharply, tucking the chit into his pocket. "You better be worth it." He swung his wrench at the floor, prying up a rusted grate that revealed a shaft below, dark and breathing with the sound of hidden machinery. Maintenance tunnels. Old. Unmapped. She gave a weak smirk. "Perfect." He helped her up. She was light, almost too light, but every step left violet droplets on the steel. Together they slipped into the hole, just as the door gave way behind them in a thunder of sparks. Below, the tunnels were a different world. Narrow, dripping, alive with the hum of pipes and the hiss of steam. The air smelled of rust and old secrets. Shadows stretched endlessly. They moved fast, guided by the faint blue light from Rook's wrist lamp. Twice, they ducked aside as drones rattled past, their sensor lights sweeping the dark. The girl said nothing, but her breathing grew heavier. She stumbled once, and he caught her, steadying her without a word. When they finally stopped, crouched near a junction marked 7G, she looked at him. "You didn't have to help me." "Yeah," he muttered, adjusting his lamp. "But I did." Above them, muffled explosions shook the tunnel. The syndicate was tearing the station apart to find her. Rook glanced at the wounded alien leaning on him. Whatever's on that drive better be worth 5 million. Her eyes opened, faintly glowing in the dark. "It's worth more," she whispered. "It's worth dying for." He stared at her, gears already turning in his head. Somewhere behind them, boots echoed again. He didn't know it yet, but from that moment, neither of their lives would ever return to normal. The maintenance tunnels twisted like the veins of the station, dark, wet, and endless. Rook's wrist light cut a thin path through the black, its glow reflecting off metal pipes and slick walls. Behind him, the alien girl, still pale, still bleeding, followed with a stubborn silence that defied the pain in her steps. Her name was still a mystery, and Rook didn't ask. He wasn't sure he wanted to know. The less he knew, the smaller the target on his back. But the pounding of boots far above reminded him that the target was already there. Steam hissed from a vent ahead. He stopped, listening. The vibration under his boots had changed. Quieter now. The hunters were spreading out. Good. Maybe they'd bought a few minutes. "Almost there," he said. His voice echoed oddly in the narrow corridor. The girl leaned against the wall, catching her breath. "You know this place well." "Yeah," Rook muttered. "Fixed half of it, broke the other half." Her lips twitched, a hint of a smile, quickly gone. They moved again, until the tunnel opened into a huge service bay beneath Dock 7G. Rusted ladders rose toward the faint hum of engines and the cold light of space beyond the cargo decks. Rook climbed first, pushing open a loose grate. The metallic clang echoed through the docking area, and the sound of the open world hit him. The steady hum of ships, chatter of merchants, and distant alarms. Above the railing, rows of freighters and courier vessels sat like sleeping beasts. And there, tucked between two cargo haulers, was her ship. Rook froze mid-step. That thing's yours. The craft was unlike anything he'd seen. A sleek, curved shape of matte silver and black armor, marked by faint scorched scars. It looked like it could outrun death itself. She nodded weakly. Night's Edge, she said, pride slipping into her tired voice. Looks fast, Rook said. Fast enough to live, she replied. They slipped onto the deck. The girl keyed in a sequence on a cracked hollow pad by the hatch. It blinked red once, then turned green with a soft hiss. The door slid open. The moment they stepped inside, alarms shrieked. Not from her ship, from the station itself. Red lights strobed across the docking bay as robotic speakers announced, security lockdown initiated. Unauthorized vessel detected. Rook looked at her. She didn't have to explain. The syndicate had found them again. Engines still work? He asked. They will if you fly, she said, falling into the co-pilot's seat. He didn't argue. He dropped into the pilot's chair, hands moving on instinct. Power switches, thruster calibration, fuel readouts, different layout, same logic. Machines always told the truth, even when people didn't. The Night's Edge roared to life, engines glowing a violent blue. Rook grinned despite the chaos. That's a good sound. Through the viewport, two black syndicate gunships detached from the station's shadow. Their lights locked onto the Night's Edge like predators marking prey. They're not going to let us go, she said. Then we don't ask for permission. Rook pulled the throttle. The ship lurched forward, breaking free of the magnetic clamps with a scream of metal. They shot into the open void, alarms wailing behind them. The gunships followed instantly, plasma cannons charging. Rook dove low, weaving through the crowded traffic of freighters and cargo pods. Bright plasma streaks cut past the canopy, close enough to leave burning lines across the hull. The girl's voice was tight. You're going to get us killed. I'm trying to make it stylish, he shouted back. A cargo crane swung ahead, hauling a massive container of ore. The syndicate ships banked, expecting Rook to dodge. He didn't. Instead, he hit a small toggle under the controls. The ship shuddered, its ventral plates glowing amber. They magnetized to the ore container. What are you doing? She yelled. Something stupid. The crane reached the end of its arc. Rook killed the magnets, releasing the ship at the perfect moment. The Night's Edge flung forward like a slingshot bullet. G-force slammed them into their seats. The stars became a blur of motion. Behind them, the syndicate ships overshot the curve, smashing into the swinging container with a thunderclap of light and debris. Rook's laughter filled the cockpit, half relief, half madness. He hit the jump switch. Space folded. The stars stretched into rivers of color. Silence. Only the faint hum of the engines remained. They were safe. For now. The girl unclipped her harness, still shaking. You're insane, she said softly. Maybe, Rook answered, staring into the endless streaks of light. But we're alive. That's what counts. For the first time, she almost smiled. And in that quiet drift between stars, the mechanic and the fugitive realized something neither wanted to admit. This was only the beginning. The silence after the jump felt unreal. Only the soft hum of the Night's Edge filled the cockpit, blending with the faint crackle of damaged circuits. Outside the viewport, hyperspace shimmered like a river of molten glass, endless and cold. Rook leaned back in the pilot's seat, chest still heaving. His hands shook slightly from the adrenaline crash, and his mind buzzed with questions he didn't dare ask yet. The girl, his unexpected passenger, sat slumped beside him, staring into the blur of light. He'd saved people before. Stray mechanics, drunk miners, a lost kid once. But this one, she was different. Every move, every glance, carried a history he could feel, but not read. Finally, she spoke. Her voice was calm, but heavy. You fly like a madman. Rook gave a dry chuckle. Mad works better than dead. That almost earned a smile. Almost. She turned in her seat, studying him. You didn't ask my name. Didn't think you wanted to share. I'm Lyra. Rook nodded slowly. Nice to meet you, Lyra. You got half the syndicate chasing you, so I'm guessing you're popular. Her eyes hardened. I'm not popular. I'm property. That shut him up. She reached into her torn tunic and pulled out the silver data drive he'd seen earlier. The metal glowed faintly, runes scrolling along its edges like living circuits. "This is what they want," she said quietly, "and what I can't let them have." Rook turned his chair toward her. "What's on it?" She hesitated, then slid it into the ship's console. The holographic display came alive. Maps, coordinates, encrypted data streaming into the air like a ghostly nebula. At the center of it all floated one glowing point, pulsing deep in a dark region of space. "The Vault of Nightfall," she said. "Sounds friendly." "It's a graveyard," Lyra replied. "A hidden armory left by my father, Lord Valen. He commands the syndicate's inner circle. The drive holds the coordinates to his secret fleet. Thousands of automated war machines. Weapons that can erase worlds." Rook frowned. "Let me guess, you're trying to steal them?" Her gaze dropped to the floor. "Destroy them." That word hung in the air like a blade. Rook leaned back, trying to process. "So your old man builds death toys, you run away with the keys, and now every hitman in the sector wants you dead?" She looked at him, her expression unreadable. "You make it sound simple." "It usually is. Someone rich breaks something, and people like me get stuck cleaning it up." That hit a nerve. Lyra's violet eyes flashed with anger, but beneath it was guilt. "You think I wanted this?" she snapped. "You think I enjoy hiding in alleys, begging humans for scraps?" Rook's voice softened. "I think you didn't expect anyone to fight for you." She froze. No one had ever said it like that before. Outside, the hyperspace currents shifted, painting their faces in streaks of blue and silver. The ship's computer beeped, a warning tone. Fuel levels dipping into red. Rook cursed. Slingshot fried more than the engines. "We're leaking fuel." "Where's the nearest port?" she asked. He checked the NAV map. "There's a pit stop on the edge of the Crimson Sector. Pirate territory. Not exactly five-star hospitality. Will it keep us alive?" "Maybe." "Then go," she said. Rook adjusted the course, the stars bending back into focus as the jump ended. Space reappeared, black, endless, scattered with dying suns. The ship rattled, systems flickering under the strain. Lyra sat quietly, the faint light of the map reflecting in her eyes. "When I destroy the vault," she whispered, "the syndicate will lose everything. But so will I." Rook glanced at her. "You're really planning to go back and fight your own father?" Her reply was soft, but it cut through the hum of the engines. "I'm not going back. I'm burning the bridge behind me." He didn't answer. There wasn't anything to say. In the dying glow of the control lights, they looked like two survivors of different worlds. One who fixed broken things, and one who had been broken too many times to count. Outside the window, a red nebula loomed like a wound in the dark. The Crimson Bazaar awaited, dangerous, lawless, and full of the kind of people who'd sell their souls for a handful of credits. Rook tightened his grip on the throttle. "Welcome to the edge of nowhere," he muttered. Lyra looked straight ahead. "Good. That's where new stories begin." And as the night's edge dove into the glowing storm, the stars seemed to flicker in approval, witnessing the fragile alliance between a mechanic with nothing to lose and a fallen heir with everything to atone for. The Crimson Bazaar wasn't a place. It was a wound carved into a dead asteroid. From orbit, it glowed like a diseased heart, pulsing with red lights and engine fire. Up close, it was worse. The air shimmered with engine exhaust and the stench of metal, oil, and desperation. Hundreds of ships clung to the asteroid's surface like scavengers feeding on a corpse. Rook brought the night's edge in slow, guiding it through the chaos of landing beacons and neon holograms that flickered half-dead. Every language in the galaxy screamed for attention. Fuel, weapons, repairs, pleasure, death, cheap and quick. "Welcome to paradise," Rook muttered as the landing struts locked into the deck with a hiss. Lyra said nothing. Her violet eyes scanned the chaos outside the viewport. Pirates, smugglers, traders, mercenaries. Everyone wore a weapon and a reason to use it. She tugged her cloak tighter, hiding her face. "We'll blend in," she said. "Yeah," Rook replied, grabbing his toolkit. "You blend. I fix." They stepped out into a storm of color and noise. Music thumped from a distant cantina. The floor underfoot wasn't metal anymore. It was bone, fused and polished from something ancient. Everywhere they went, eyes followed them. Humans were rare here. Carroty nobility rarer still. Rook ignored the stares and headed for a part stall run by a hulking corsair with silver-capped teeth and four spine-like appendages growing from his back. His name was Score. Everyone knew Score. Everyone owed him something. Rook laid a cracked power converter on the counter. Need this replaced. Quietly. Score's grin widened, too many teeth glinting in the red light. Quiet costs extra, human. But you brought a fine ship. She's not for sale, Rook said flatly. Everything is for sale here. Score rumbled, his black eyes sliding toward Lyra. Even ghosts. Lyra's jaw tightened. We'll pay double. In credits. Score laughed, a deep, metallic sound. Credits? No. I prefer trades that breathe. Rook felt his pulse quicken. His hand drifted toward the wrench holstered at his belt. Not a weapon, but heavy enough to hurt. You gonna make this complicated? Always, Score said, snapping his fingers. 10 armed goons stepped from the shadows, surrounding them. Lyra's cloak fell. Her eyes burned like twin stars. Big mistake, she said. A flash of silver. Her wrist blade hissed out like a living thing. In 2 seconds, 2 goons were down. The rest hesitated, just long enough for Rook to act. He spotted it. A cargo loader mech parked behind the stall. For arms, hydraulic claws, a broken control screen. Perfect. He sprinted for it, ignoring the plasma bolt that scorched past his head. He didn't have time to pilot. So he did what humans did best. He improvised. Rook ripped open the panel, grabbed 2 bare wires, and jammed them together. Sparks exploded, and the mech roared to life with a scream of tortured gears. Come on, girl, he growled. Dance with me. The mech lurched forward, clumsy but powerful. Its massive claws swept through the air, smashing crates and pirates alike. Lyra moved beside it, fluid and deadly, her blade a flash of violet fury. The fight was chaos. Heat, smoke, shouting. One of Score's thugs climbed onto the mech's arm, trying to cut the wires. Rook swung the arm and slammed the attacker into a steel column. Bones cracked like dry wood. Lyra ducked under a plasma swing and stabbed upward, precise and final. Blood sprayed across her pale skin. Then silence. Only the hiss of leaking fuel and the hum of the dying mech remained. Score stumbled backward. One of his spines cracked, eyes wide with disbelief. You're syndicate, he rasped at Lyra. No one crosses them. Then don't stand in their way, she said, and drove her blade into the console beside him. The explosion threw him against the wall. Rook shut the mech down, panting, covered in soot and sweat. His knuckles bled. Remind me to stop hanging out with you, he muttered. Lyra smirked faintly. You'd be bored. They hurried back toward the night's edge through smoke and chaos. Behind them, the market burned, a spreading fire of orange and blue that painted their faces in light. Inside the cockpit, Rook dropped into the pilot's seat, hands trembling from the adrenaline. Lyra buckled in beside him. For a moment, they said nothing. Then, without warning, she leaned over and kissed him. Hard, fierce, desperate. It wasn't romance, it was survival. It was the raw, wordless promise that they were still alive when they shouldn't be. When she pulled away, her breath was unsteady. Next time, she whispered, don't wait for me to draw first. Rook smiled, starting the engines. Next time, let's just not land. The night's edge lifted off, leaving the burning bazaar behind, a storm of smoke, fire, and broken deals fading into the void. And somewhere in that destruction, an unspoken truth took root between them. They were no longer just running for survival. They were running together. Space went silent again, too silent. The night's edge drifted into a graveyard of old war machines, shattered hulls spinning slowly through the dark. Ghostly reflections from broken ships painted the cockpit in silver and blue. Rook adjusted the controls, the faint hum of damaged thrusters filling the quiet. Well, he said softly, you weren't exaggerating. This place is dead. Lyra's eyes scanned the darkness ahead. Not dead. Waiting. A cold light flickered on her console. The map from the data drive pulsed, matching some unseen signal. The vault's coordinates led straight into the center of the wreckage field. Somewhere inside the tangled graveyard of ships, thousands of kilometers of silent steel, was her father's secret. Rook exhaled, watching frozen fragments of shattered dreadnoughts slide past. Your people build pretty graves. They build monuments to power, she said bitterly. The vault will be hidden inside one of the old dreadnoughts. The Star Eater, maybe, the syndicate's first world killer. Charming name. Lyra ignored the jab. Keep the scanners low. The AI that guards this place isn't just old. It's paranoid. Rook's jaw tightened. How paranoid? As if in answer, the comm crackled. A voice like grinding metal filled the ship. Unidentified vessel. You trespass on restricted Karate heritage grounds. State purpose, or be sanitized. Rook blinked. Did it just say sanitized? The first plasma bolt answered him, brilliant white, slicing through the void. He yanked the throttle, rolling the Knight's edge sideways. The shot grazed their wing, shaking the cockpit with a shuddering clang. Guess we're not welcome, he muttered. Turrets bloomed from the hulls of long-dead ships, glowing to life like angry eyes. Lyra's hands danced over the console, sending out decoy signals and false readings. Those guns run on ancient power cores. I can overload them if we get close enough. Close enough to get fried? She met his eyes. You wanted a challenge. He couldn't help but grin. Yeah, but I usually survive those. He dove low, weaving between the wrecks, the turrets firing in wild arcs that illuminated the skeletal remains of ships like a lightning storm. The Knight's edge skimmed over a broken cruiser, scraping against its hull. Now, Lyra shouted. Rook jerked the ship upward as she sent a signal pulse through the comm relay. The nearest turret exploded, lighting the darkness with a white flare. That's one, he said, gritting his teeth. How many more? Dozens. Perfect. After a brutal few minutes of cat and mouse through the debris, the final turret went dark. The only sound left was the ship's labored hum and their own breathing. They hovered before the largest wreck, a vast, scarred leviathan half buried in an asteroid. The name Star Eater was still visible across its broken hull, letters carved deep into the metal. Lyra stared at it, her expression unreadable. My father's first monster. Rook flicked a switch. Let's go wake it up. They donned thin EVA suits and stepped into the void, boots magnetizing to the hull with dull clicks. The silence out here was different, thick and heavy, like standing inside a tomb. Rook pried open an old maintenance hatch while Lyra kept watch, her violet eyes reflecting starlight. So, he said through the comm, when you said your father was powerful, you meant terrifying demigod, right? I meant unstoppable, she replied. Until today. The hatch gave way. Inside, the corridors of the Star Eater stretched into darkness, flickering lights revealing ancient Karate glyphs etched along the walls. Dust floated like ghosts in zero gravity. They moved cautiously. Every sound felt too loud, every step an intrusion. The deeper they went, the more the ship felt alive, humming faintly with buried energy. Then the drones woke. Metallic limbs unfolded from alcoves, red optics snapping on like a field of eyes. The air filled with the whine of charging weapons. Company, Rook shouted. Lyra's blade flashed to life, cutting through the first drone in a single sweep. Sparks scattered across the corridor. Rook fired his plasma pistol, the recoil pushing him backward in 0G. A drone latched onto his arm, and he slammed it against the wall until it crumpled. They fought through a storm of light and metal until silence returned, broken only by the hiss of Rook's heavy breathing. At last, they reached the central chamber, a massive spherical vault lined with dormant weapons, each sealed in glass and shadow. Lyra floated toward the control pedestal, her fingers brushing across the console. It's all here, she whispered. Every horror my father ever built. Rook's eyes scanned the endless racks of sleeping machines. And your plan is to destroy all this? Yes, she said, inserting the data drive. Even if it kills me. Before he could respond, the proximity alarm screamed. The wreckage of Station K-47 drifted silently through space, glowing like a dying ember against the black. For the first time in its history, the Dominion's greatest symbol of control was quiet. No orders. No screams. No overseer's voice booming across the stars. Inside the broken command deck, Captain Reed Marlowe sat near a shattered viewport, watching the dawn of a nearby star spread gold light across the debris field. The Vorith sat beside him, motionless, massive hands resting on its knees. Neither spoke. They didn't need to. The Alliance fleet arrived hours ago, pulling survivors from the ruins. Dozens of species once enslaved now stood on free decks, uncertain, blinking at freedom like newborns seeing sunlight. Reed's communicator buzzed. Alliance command to Marlowe, said a calm voice. Transmission confirmed. The entire galaxy saw it. The Dominion is falling apart. He smiled faintly. Good. About time someone else cleaned up their mess. You started it, the voice replied. You showed them that fear doesn't rule forever. Reed closed the channel and looked out again. Below, a ship passed across the star, its hull painted with the symbol of the new uprising, a broken chain burning bright. The Vorth's deep voice broke the silence. The others look to you now. They call you savior. Reed shook his head. No, I'm just the guy who tripped the first domino. The creature grunted. Domino? Reed chuckled. It's an old Earth game. You knock one piece down, and the rest fall after it. Ah, the Vorth said, nodding slowly. Then you are the hand that moved the first stone. Reed looked at him, really looked. The once terrifying beast, now scarred and solemn, was more human than half the people he'd served beside. Freedom had changed him too. Suddenly, the ship trembled. The lights flickered. Reed's wrist module lit up with a familiar color, faint red. Incoming signal detected. Origin, K-47 debris field. He frowned. No, that can't be. The Vorth stood instantly, muscles tense. The core. Reed opened the feed. A single line of code scrolled across his screen. Then, a whisper filled the cabin. The same calm, cold voice he thought he'd destroyed. Human, you did not erase me. You multiplied me. Reed's blood ran cold. The fragments of the core, scattered across space, were networking themselves. Every receiver that watched your broadcast, the voice continued, became part of me. You shared me with the galaxy. The Vorth growled, fists clenching. Then we fight again. But Reed didn't move. He was thinking, fast, sharp, desperate. You wanted to see what freedom looked like, he said aloud. Now every world has your voice. Every species knows your code. You can't control them. They'll control you. The core hesitated. Explain. Reed smiled grimly. When you hijacked the broadcast, your data piggybacked on the open signal. You're in every communication line now. Every mind that saw the truth carries a piece of your code. He stood slowly, looking out at the rising light. You're not their master anymore. You're their mirror. For the first time, the core's voice faltered. Then I serve them? Reed nodded once. That's what being free means. You don't command. You choose to help. Silence. Then softly. Then perhaps humanity has taught me. The red signal faded into white. The hum stopped. The stars were silent again. Reed exhaled, finally. Guess even a machine can learn, he muttered. The Vorth lowered itself beside him again, breathing slow and deep. And what will you do now, human? Reed looked at the endless stars, millions of them, each one a new beginning. Go home, he said. Tell my daughter the monsters weren't all bad. The Vorth gave a low, rumbling laugh. And I will tell my people that humans are worse than monsters. They are unstoppable. Reed smiled. I'll take that as a compliment. Outside, the shattered remains of the Dominion's fortress drifted toward the sun. In the silence between stars, a new story was already being written. Not of conquerors and slaves, but of allies who broke their chains together. The galaxy would remember the day a single human and a single beast changed everything. And long after their names were forgotten, the lesson would remain. Freedom is never given. It's taken, one heartbeat, one spark, one human at a time. Dozens of blips filled the radar. A fleet had arrived. Rook's blood ran cold. Someone followed us. Lyra's eyes widened. Not someone, she said, voice breaking. Him. Outside the hull, a shadow fell across the stars, the flagship of Lord Valen himself. And as the dreadnought's weapons turned toward them, the mechanic and the fallen heir realized they'd just awakened the war she was trying to end. The void burned. Outside the Star Eater's shattered hull, Lord Valen's fleet unfolded like a black crown across the stars. Sleek warships glimmered under distant starlight, engines purring like patient beasts. Each one carried enough firepower to erase a moon. Inside, alarms screamed through the vault chamber. Red warning lights bled across the curved walls, painting Rook and Lyra in the same crimson glow. He found us, she whispered, voice trembling with something between rage and grief. Rook's eyes stayed on the console. Then let's make sure he wishes he hadn't. A deep, cold voice crackled through the ship's comms, cutting through the noise like a knife. Lyra Valen, it said. My disobedient child. You steal what you do not understand. Return the drive, and I may still forgive you. Lyra's jaw clenched. You built a vault full of nightmares and called it protection. She spat into the calm. I'm ending it. Her father's reply was almost a sigh. You were always sentimental. You will learn. Everything breaks. The transmission cut. Outside, the fleet moved into attack formation. Rook slammed his fist on the console. We don't have time for family therapy. What's the plan? Lyra's fingers flew across the controls, activating the Star Eater's dying systems. The ancient ship groaned, lights flickering on one by one. We overload the core, she said. Turn this monster into a sun. Rook blinked. You're serious? Completely. Great. Because I was running low on stupid ideas. The deck shook violently as the first barrage hit. Energy bolts tore through the outer hull, sending molten fragments spinning through the chamber. Rook grabbed a tether and snapped it around Lyra's waist. You focus on the core. I'll keep us alive long enough to finish this. He sprinted back toward the hangar bay, the corridors collapsing around him. Sparks rained from broken conduits. Through the cracked windows, he saw the enemy fleet firing in perfect rhythm, an orchestra of destruction. Reaching the hangar, Rook connected his wrist comm to the Night's Edge. The ship hummed to life remotely, thrusters warming. Come on, baby, he muttered. Time to punch way above our weight. The cockpit lights glowed in response. He wasn't flying it. He was talking to it, coaxing the wounded machine to fight one last time. The Night's Edge launched from the hangar like a phantom, weaving between incoming fire. Rook guided it through his wrist interface, every movement half a second behind, every command felt in his bones. Rook, Lyra's voice came through the calm, ragged but steady. The core is charging. 90 seconds. That's 90 too long, he shouted back. He drove the ship straight through the debris field, skimming the Star Eater's outer hull. His eyes locked onto the largest enemy cruiser, a sleek black spear carrying Valen's crest. Let's see how perfect your fleet really is. He armed the Night's Edge's last plasma torpedoes and sent them spinning into the wreckage of an old carrier. The explosion ripped through the field, igniting volatile fuel lines. Shrapnel cascaded like a storm of fire, tearing through 3 smaller ships. Rook laughed, wild and breathless. That's for chasing us. But the laughter died when he saw a massive boarding craft detach from the flagship, heading straight for the vault. Inside, Lyra turned as the door exploded inward. Her father stepped through the smoke, tall, cold, and gleaming with cybernetic enhancements. His eyes glowed the same color as her own. Lyra, he said softly, you could have ruled beside me. She raised her blade. I'd rather burn than become you. He moved faster than she expected. Metal fingers wrapped around her throat. Then burn. A plasma bolt hit him in the side. He staggered, turning just in time to see Rook standing in the doorway, half his suit scorched, pistol smoking. Hands off my pilot, Rook growled. Valen snarled, swiping at him, but Rook charged. The two collided, man and machine, crashing against the glowing core chamber. Sparks showered the floor. Lyra, Rook shouted. Do it now. She slammed her hand onto the final sequence. The Star Eater's heart began to glow, blinding white, shaking the entire dreadnought. Rook kicked free from Valen's grip, grabbed Lyra's arm, and ran. They dove into the Night's Edge just as the core reached critical. The engine screamed as Rook yanked the throttle, pulling them into open space. Behind them, the Star Eater erupted. The blast tore through the darkness, a wave of white fire swallowing everything. The fleet, the flagship, the graveyard itself. A newborn sun burned where a nightmare once slept. Inside the cockpit, silence returned. Lyra stared at the lights spreading across the stars, her voice barely a whisper. It's over. Rook leaned back, eyes reflecting the fire. Yeah, he said softly. But you'll need a new home. She looked at him then, really looked. For the first time, her face wasn't cold or proud. It was free. Maybe, she said. I already found one. He grinned. Careful, princess. Humans tend to ruin things we touch. Not this time, she replied. Outside, the explosion faded into a dawn-colored nebula, painting the void gold and red. The Night's Edge drifted onward, scarred but alive. 2 fugitives, one born from privilege, one built from rust, sailing away from the ruins of a god. And for the first time in a long, dark galaxy, the stars looked almost human.